Good afternoon. I am League member and co-chair of Voter Services, Deborah Scheiman, and I will be the moderator for our final panel today, State of Florida, House of Representatives, District 20. There are two Democratic candidates in the race for the State of Florida seat, Yvonne Hinson and Rodney Long. Thank you, candidates, for joining us today. State representatives are elected in a partisan election for a 2-year term and may be elected for 4 terms. Candidates must live in the district they represent. The 2 Democratic candidates will appear on the primary election ballot. There are no Republican or other candidates, so the winner of the primary will represent the district. The format of the forum will be as follows. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement. Following the opening statements, I will read questions prepared by the League of Women Voters, and you will have 1.5 minutes to answer each one for a total of 4 questions. You will be able to see our timer, who will indicate your remaining time at 30 seconds and stop. Please remember to stop when your time is up, or your microphone may be muted. We will begin our opening statements in alphabetical order, and you will each have 1 minute. Ms. Hinson, your opening statement, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for having us and for sponsoring this forum. I am Yvonne Hayes Hinson, and I'm a candidate for the Florida House of Representatives, District 20. I'm a Gainesville native, born, raised, and educated here. I'm a double Gator. I'm also a mother and a nana. I've been an educator over 40 years, retiring as a school principal after being a 14-year veteran principal. I started my own company, working with low-performing schools around this country, and then I thought I was retiring and came home and ran for city commissioner. I was a city commissioner 1 term and sat around getting angry again and ran for U.S. Congress. I was the Democratic nominee for U.S. Congress 2018. My message is simple. I want to make Florida the leader in public education, environmental stewardship, criminal justice reform, workforce, and affordable housing. I believe our message of hope will resonate around our district and give our children, our generations of the future, hope for a greater Florida in our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Long, your statement, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you. I'm Rodney Long. I'm a lifelong resident of North Central Florida. I'm founder and president of the Martin Luther King Jr. Commission of Florida. I'm also founder and president of the Long Foundation. I served on the Gainesville City Commission for 6 years, 1 year as mayor commissioner. I've served on the Alachua County Commissioner for 11 years, 2 terms as chair. I've served as president of the Florida Association of Counties, 2 terms. Also, I was invited by President Obama to come to the White House to discuss issues facing Alachua County and America's counties. My campaign is endorsed by the Florida Education Association, representing Florida's teachers and also Florida support staff. My campaign is also supported by the Federation for Children. I'm also endorsed by the AFL-CIO and the North Central Florida Labor Council, representing the working families of Florida. I am the best qualified, most experienced, and have a proven track record of getting things done. I would certainly appreciate the vote of all the residents and voters in House District 20. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to our prepared questions. You will have 1.5 minutes to answer. We will start with the second candidate alphabetically and then rotate the order in which the candidates respond to the questions. So our first question begins with Rodney Long. Which areas of civic life should cities and counties be able to govern independently, and which should be preempted by the state?
First of all, I am opposed to any preemption from the state, whether they're cost shifts. I believe in local home rule. I think local governments are the ones closest to people, and they should be able to determine those things that affect local governments. In terms of our local government, those things that I think that we should have control over: 1, we should have control over public safety. We should certainly have control over our utilities, and we should have local control over our land uses.
Thank you. Yvonne Hayes Hinson, your answer, please. Oh, gotta unmute. Okay, we're gonna start you over. Now you're unmuted.
I also believe in local control. However, I do believe there are facets that run governments in different parts of the country and different parts of the state that are better run by the state or federal government. For instance, funding our public schools. I do believe funding our public schools is a facet of state government as opposed to local government, and so it should remain with the state. I also believe that other areas of government should be run from the state to the local government, with the local government making the decision, the final decision. Of course, utilities, environment, and the way we wish to live our lives need to be left better with the local government. But how it's funded, because we're paying taxes, oftentimes we need to look for the state to help us fund some of the decisions that we make locally.
Thank you. Our next question begins with Ms. Hayes-Hinson. Please describe what you think the state should do to protect Florida from the effects of climate change.
Well, I've been thinking about this very carefully, because as the sea levels rise, we are experiencing more flooding inland. I have traveled the world, and I know that there are malecons along certain coastal ways where they have greater sea level rise. We may need to start considering building malecons. These are seawalls that may need to be in certain areas where the seas are already rising. We know that they are. And we already have people moving inland from the seas. We've had this going on since 2010. So we need to start considering where we're going to put housing so that we can have not only affordable and workforce housing for people moving in, but we need to make plans for that so that we don't more disrupt climate issues that already exist. I heard another candidate say we don't want to build over a swamp. We also don't want to build over agriculture lands, because we're still going to need food. In New Orleans, they use levees. They have a levee system around that city, and those levees protect them from not only storms and hurricanes, but I believe we can adapt that same system for sea level rising. These levees are, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Long?
Time sure flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? Global warming and climate change, including sea level rising and saltwater intrusion, is a real challenge for the state of Florida. I think the first thing we need to do is make sure that the people in Tallahassee are not climate change deniers. They are. And the first thing you got to do is have people to understand that this is a real challenge that's facing our state. And also in Miami, it doesn't take a rocket science to see that the city of Miami is almost at sea level now. And if you ride down the streets of Miami, you'll see saltwater intrusion coming up through the actual culverts right now. I think the city of Miami do a pretty good job of trying to make sure that they deal with the saltwater intrusion that's coming in. But we're going to have to look at land uses and how we build along our coast. We cannot build along the coast the way we normally build along the coast in those areas where we're going to be experiencing sea level rising. I think the state of Florida is going to have to do a much better job of doing the things that they need to do from the state level. But I think most of all, it's going to be left up to the local coastal communities to deal with it.
Thank you. For our next question, we'll begin with Mr. Long. Do you support the expansion of Medicaid for low-income adults? And if so, how would you promote it in the 2021 legislative session? If not, please explain why.
Medicaid expansion to the 800,000 Floridians that are eligible to receive it is one of my platform issues. I don't think I'm gonna have to do a whole lot to try to convince the legislature that it's time to move forward with it because of COVID-19. The rising costs that we have now with our hospital costs and for people who are uninsured, it's a no-brainer. I think the way we're going to have to deal with it, the state of Florida is going to be facing after COVID-19 some serious budget issues. They're about $1.5, $1.6 billion now short because of the lack of revenues coming in from our agriculture and from our tourism. So they're going to be looking for ways to try to offset those costs. Going to get money from the federal government through the Affordable Care Act only makes sense when it comes to Medicaid expansion. I'm a true supporter of Medicaid expansion and will certainly reach across the aisle when I get in Tallahassee to ensure that we move forward with that.
Thank you. Ms. Hayes Hinson, your answer? Oops, got to unmute you again. There, go ahead, start over.
I certainly agree that COVID-19 is going to make Medicaid expansion a lot more desirable to the legislature at this time. Bringing in that Medicaid expansion from the federal government will help us increase not only the ability to insure the 800,000 people we have that are now uninsured, protect them from future diseases, especially the future wave that they're expecting, the second wave of COVID-19. It will also create jobs for an enormous amount of people should they give us this money. And I think jobs is going to be of great interest to this current legislature. So I would promote it in terms of the effect it will have not only on its population, its health care, but also its economy and its jobs.
Thank you. And our final question starts with Yvonne Hayes Hinson. What are your thoughts about the adequacy of revenue streams supporting the economic needs of state government? And what changes would you recommend?
Especially with the loss we are anticipating with COVID-19, this is a very important issue. I went back and looked at some proposals from other candidates, and I was especially interested and excited about Andrew Gillum's proposal to increase corporate taxes by 1.5%. I think we can increase corporate taxes by even 1%. That will give us the necessary revenue we need to move Florida forward. We could move Florida forward, not only in education, which has us at the lowest quartile in the nation, but we could move Florida forward in many areas that we are lacking, and we will continue to lack because of the money or the revenue we're losing due to COVID-19. So yes, I would raise corporate taxes. Taxes would be one. I'm glad I have more time. I would also consider a very vigorous construction campaign so that, we could do the workforce and affordable housing that I would like to see for our district. I believe a vigorous construction campaign would help us increase the revenue that we were getting in the past with documentary stamps that we have lost because of the recession. I would vigorously encourage and market construction so that we could increase our documentary stamps and restore the revenue we once got long before COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you. And your response, Rodney Long?
Diane, could you please repeat the question?
Oh,
again? Thank you.
What are your thoughts about the adequacy of revenue streams supporting the economic needs of state government, and what changes would you recommend?
Thank you so very, very much. Nearly 1,000 people move to the state of Florida every year. Our current revenues, being tourism being one and agriculture number two, are not sufficient or adequate to fund the needs of people moving to the state of Florida. As we look at COVID-19, we're looking at about a $1.6 billion revenue shortfall just from those two revenue generators. The state of Florida and the residents of the state of Florida, I don't believe, would move forward with a constitutional amendment to have a state income tax. Not that I'm proposing one, but we're going to have to find ways to diversify our tax base. I believe that we need to expand working capital to new businesses and to expand small and minority business and medium-sized businesses. Florida needs to continue to be out in the front in research and reaching out globally to bring companies and companies to the state of Florida. We're going to have to find a way, because if we don't, as we look at 2030, when we're going to have more of our communities and more of our people 65 and older, it's going to become a bigger burden on us in providing services for our seniors. So we got to find a way to diversify the tax base. I believe we can invest in those communities that are distressed by qualified targeted industry programs, by community redevelopment areas, and also by using the enterprise zones in those communities that are designated.
Thank you, both candidates. This concludes the primary election candidate forum by the League of Women Voters of Alachua County. Thank you to all the candidates and to the viewing audience. We are especially grateful to our technical partner, Alpha Creative Studio. This forum will be available to view either in sections or as a whole on our YouTube channel. And that link will be posted on our website and Facebook page as soon as it is ready to go. Thank you again so much for joining us today. Have a good day.